Generation X, those who were born between the years of 1965 and 1980. Overview of Generation X. Generation X changed the way people communicated forever. So many technological advancements were invented throughout this generation, including the first cell phone, the first email, and advancements with computers. There was also advancement in space as the first moon landing successfully occurred. Why did Gen X become so fatalistic? What were some key concepts and historic events that led to this generational outlook? Generation X became fatalistic because of the impact they left on society. Gen X was the first generation to grow up with personal computers and the internet, marking a historical transition from analog to digital technology. Additionally, the first email system was invented in 1971, and the first cell phone was invented in 1973, both forever changing how people communicated. Other big historical events that led to this generational outlook included the first moon landing in 1969, the first desktop computer in 1965, and the assassination of MLK Jr. and RFK in 1968. These historical events evolved society and are the reason this generation became so fatalistic. How are Generation X's historical events reflected in the culture they consumed and created? American culture changed when those technological advancements were made and introduced. People now communicated on mobile cell phones or through email, just as we still do today. Before these advancements, people did not have email and communicated on a phone attached to the wall that you cannot take with you. Advancements in cell phones continued throughout the millennials, Generation Z, and even still in Generation Alpha today. Cell phones allow Gen X to be creative and optimistic about the future. People used cell phones to create apps and social media that we still use to this day. Generation X is marked by notable advancements in communication technology, including the invention of the first cell phone and email. These innovations transformed how society interacts and shares information, paving the way for future developments in digital communication. The first cell phone. Introduced in 1973 by Motorola, the first cell phone revolutionized communication when Martin Cooper, a Motorola researcher, made the first ever public cell phone call. A few years later, in 1983, it became available to the public. The Dynatec AC 8000X, although bulky and expensive, laid the groundwork for mobile technology. The cell phone allowed people to make calls from virtually anywhere, which fundamentally changed personal and business communication forever. The cell phone was 10 inches long, weighed about 2.5 pounds, and could only be used for about 30 minutes before the battery died, which took roughly 10 hours to recharge completely. In 1988, the Motorola phone bag was invented. While the Dynatec AC 8000X was easier to carry around, many actually preferred the phone bag because it had more durability and higher power output, up to 3 watts. Additionally, the phone bag's battery did not die nearly as fast, allowing people to use it all day long. The cell phone has changed in many ways over the years, including its looks, size, durability, and software. Looking at the first cell phone compared to today's cell phone is crazy because you can see how much it has evolved over time. The cell phone not only changed how people communicated, but also how people lived everyday life. The birth of email. Email is one of the biggest advancements to take place during Gen X. Email emerged in the early 1970s, with Ray Tomlinson sending the first email in 1971. He also invented the @ symbol to create email addresses and target messages to specific users. Email was first invented in 1965, however, the version was only compatible if the messenger and receiver of the email were using the same computer. In 1972, Larry Roberts created the first email management program. In 1976, Queen Elizabeth II sent the first email as head of state. In 1978, Gary Turek sent the first mass email, or the first spam message. The development of email enabled instant communication among friends, families, teachers, students, and coworkers. To this day, email is one of the most used methods of communicating. Computer evolution throughout Generation X. The first personal computer or desktop computer was invented in 1965. This was the Olivetti Programma 101 in the top left. In 1970, the data point 2200 came out. This is known to be the first desktop computer with a screen, and that is in the top right. In 1971, the Kinback 1 computer was released, the middle row on the left side. In 1974, the MITS Altair 8800 was introduced on the right in the middle. In 1973, the Wang 2200 emerged on the bottom left. It had a full-sized cathode ray tube and cassette tape storage. Additionally, in 1977, the TRS-80 computer was introduced to the public. That is on the bottom middle. This computer was sold at each of the 3,500 Radio Shack stores across the country. The Apple II also came out in 1977. That is on the bottom right. Both the TRS-80 and Apple II provided color display and look more like our computers today, as they have a bigger screen and keyboard. It is crazy to look at how far computers have come from Generation X to today. Apple now has super thin and light MacBook Airs, Pros, and desktops. The first computer dates back to 1946, with the first computer to display text and graphics on a video terminal invented in 1951, the Whirlwind computer. Computers significantly contributed to the evolution of how information is processed and shared, enhancing everyday life and business operations. Today, we still use computers for school, work, research, or even just to play games. Communication evolution. Generation X witnessed drastic transformations in communication methods with the inventions of groundbreaking technologies such as the first cell phone, the first email, and the first desktop computer. These innovations changed the way people interacted with one another, making communication faster and more accessible than ever before. Changes in communication methods. The introduction of the first cell phone and email in the early 1970s revolutionized how Generation X communicated. These advancements changed society as people went from traditional face-to-face conversations and postal communications to electronic exchanges, communicating through their cell phones or email. This forever altered human interaction. Other historical events during Generation X that shaped society today. On April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr., a civil rights activist, was assassinated, and he is the top picture. 2 months later, on June 6, 1968, Robert F. Kennedy, a U.S. Attorney General, was assassinated. He's in the middle. He was the brother to John F. Kennedy, a former president, who was also assassinated in 1963. These assassinations were devastating to the world. However, they taught America the importance of unity, compassion, and nonviolence during a tragedy. Later in 1969, Neil Armstrong, an American astronaut, aeronautical engineer, naval aviator, test pilot, and university professor, was the first person to walk on the moon. This historical event forever changed society as it revolutionized and accelerated space technology, along with our ability to live and work in space. Overall, these historical events impacted America and shaped society for the better. And these are my sources that I used from the module in D2L. Thank you.